didn't know that you can set like a follow wall on your SoundCloud. How do you feel about SoundCloud, by the way? Like, I don't know. I feel like SoundCloud's in a weird place right now.
It definitely is in a weird place. Like I was big on SoundCloud, and then like I don't know, like the remix era hit, and then like all these producers just all of a sudden popped up, but then like everybody's shit just started getting deleted because there was all sorts of air quotes copyright issues. And I know a lot of people that got, or well, I don't know a lot of people, but I saw a lot of people and stories of producers getting stuff taken off of SoundCloud because it infringed on copyrights when it was like original material. So yeah, it definitely is in a weird place.
Do you feel like they have a point though with the original material?
I do, especially if you're talking about monetization, especially if you're talking about paying people for plays, like streams and stuff. You know, I think it is, because I think it does definitely step on copyrights, but like that copyright argument is a tough one as well. So yeah, like I think it's tough. Like, I mean, I think you got people being creative. Sometimes they're doing remixes and they're posting them on SoundCloud, and you know, they may not necessarily have permission to do it, but I mean, like,
yeah, and that kind of falls into that whole like cover area, right?
Yeah.
Because I've had like actual people that I know have covers taken off of YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Because you know they didn't have permission from the copyright holder to perform it. But that whole space is super weird, just because you know you could stream it, like you could stream all these songs and you can download them essentially from wherever, but you know you still can't perform them in any way.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I saw something on Facebook the other day with Reed Speed, who's a drum and bass DJ, and she's been doing like a shitload of live streams and live streaming just like DJ spins for like an hour on Friday nights. You know, it's kind of like the new Facebook club, I guess, with like the live streams and stuff. But like she got her videos removed off of Facebook, and they sent her notifications, and like, you know, she kind of made a big deal about it, posting pictures of the notifications she got and stuff like that, and showing that, you know, she had, I guess, I don't know much about DJs and like promotional copies and stuff like that, but basically she had approval from the artist of the music that she was spinning to play their music, because it was a promotional copy. So she had promotional rights to play it and promote the song, because that's what DJs do.
Right.
But
it's just a bot though, right? That's trolling the YouTube and everything. It's just a algorithm.
Yeah, so pretty much. So, you know, I'm sure it caught something in there and told her she didn't have the right to play it, and then like she had to fight it back. And I still don't think she's gotten her videos put back up on Facebook yet, because it's still in that you got to fight it with Facebook, and it's like, all right, how much effort do I really put into this to get my shit put back up?
Right. And I mean, I guess it's kind of like a double-edged sword too, because if Facebook's taking your stuff down, in most cases it's because it's making a little bit of noise, at least enough noise to get their attention.
Right.
You know, so I don't even know like what the criteria is for like how many plays you have to have before they even will start scanning your stuff for copyrighted material. But you know, you could use that to kind of get ahead and you know, get your name out there. Definitely.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, if you could put stuff up and get material out there, and that's, you know, remixes or whatever, or you know you flip the sampler or whatever. Yeah, you definitely got to play that to your advantage and just like run with it as long as you can, almost before they tell you no. I know DJ Payne 1 has put up a bunch of videos on YouTube about sampling and stuff like that and clearing samples, and like that's a whole other rabbit hole that we could go down that I don't have any light in that, because you know, especially if you're sampling, you know, copyrighted material, I know like there's a lot to it, and it gets dicey.
Definitely. Yeah, man. Before we get too deep, let's start the episode officially. Yeah. You know, we're live one more time. Audio Files Podcast. You know, my name is Rashad Peters. I'm with my co-host here,
Dustin Brookshire, in the house.
You already know. And this is episode number 4. Sorta. We had
Close enough.
we had to re-record it. It happens, whatever.
Yeah,
But
technical difficulties. That's part of being an engineer. You got to solve for those problems and then find resolutions and come up with solutions.
yeah, definitely. But you're still gonna get your episode.
Yep.
So don't worry about it. You could find us on Facebook, The Audio Files Podcast. You can also find us on Instagram now at The Audio Files Podcast. We're everywhere right now.
Lots of tasty tips on the Instagram there too. I saw that the other day. Yeah, it's good stuff.
We're trying to help you out. So if you give us a follow, we promise we won't waste your time too much with stuff that you don't need to know. Yeah. So let's get this show started. I think we have some cool stuff to talk about today. Yeah, it's stuff that's definitely relevant right now in this whole beat making producer space for sure. So
before we get too far into that, I want to. You're a Marvel fan, right? The movies.
Yeah.
So I saw an interesting video yesterday, and I think it was originally from YouTube. It scrolled around on my timeline on Tumblr actually, and it was talking about how the Marvel Universe films lack that theme song. They went around to people and asked them can you hum or sing the theme song to to Wars and Harry Potter and Indiana Jones, and all of those movies have that theme song. If you hear that music, if you hear that music, you're gonna automatically associate it with that particular movie and that franchise. But the Marvel franchise doesn't really have any music, and it was a very interesting article because it just brought up kind of a neat point that there's no real music or specific sound that you really besides
that sounds like Marvel.
Yeah, that sounds like Marvel. I mean, short of the comic book pages flipping in the beginning of the movies, which is kind of like the Marvel tagline. But I mean, that's not the same. So man, I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I could, you could argue that point that, Spider-Man's probably one of the most iconic theme songs of the 21st century or the 20th century. Yeah. Spider-Man, that's Marvel. And X-Men too. I mean, X-Men had a really dope theme song. At least it stands out to me. I could probably hum it. Yeah. From the cartoon. Right. So, it's more of that there's so many separate characters that have their own thing. The Avengers definitely don't have a theme song, and that's only because no one knew who the Avengers were before they actually made the first movie. So there was never an Avengers cartoon or an Avengers show. Yeah. So it would be kind of tough to have something resonate when it doesn't have that longevity like Spider-Man or X-Men. But at the end of the day, you're right. The newer ones like Thor and Avengers and Ant-Man and all that stuff. Yeah. Those don't have really iconic music. You're right.
No, but the music is epic in them, but the sound, there's definitely no shorting the sound. But I just thought it was interesting. They were doing the man on the street thing, and you got people humming all these theme songs and stuff, and it gets to Avengers and everyone was stumped.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, there's none. That's weird. And the thing is, it's the era of the theme song is kind of live right now, with The Walking Dead. Yep. And Stranger Things just came out. That's a pretty great theme song.
People are all in love with the Stranger's themes.
Dude, it's great. Yeah, it's a great theme song. I
haven't actually watched that show yet. I've been on the fence about it.
Gotta watch it. Yeah, you got to.
It seems like a dope show, and with everybody talking about the theme song, I'm all right, the peer pressure is getting to be too much at this point.
100%. Yeah, it's one of those. It's going to be one of those cultural things that you don't want to miss out on. Yeah, But theme songs are dope, dude. It's I feel like it's really underappreciated art too, because to write a catchy theme, there's really not. I mean, at least I don't know the art form behind writing a catchy theme. That'll probably be a good topic to tackle later on.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah.
Even thinking to the Marvel universe as far as the TV shows, because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is just coming back around for their fall season, and even they don't have a theme song for the beginning of that show. They pretty much just do like the Shield badge. It's kind of an epic like moment, but it's short. You know, it's like 5-10 seconds top. There's really no like music to go with it. And like I keep going down this rabbit hole of all right, there's got to be somewhere. There's got to be a song, and I think
a common thread, right?
Yeah, right. But like it's there's really nothing there. So yeah, it's pretty fascinating. Like in a world where if people need like that music and they want that association, that there's kind of nothing there. But like the movies are so big, it doesn't seem to be a problem at this point.
The brand is so huge at this point, and they got the Disney machine behind it now, and it's it's big as it's gonna ever probably get at this point.
Yep.
Yep. So anyway, with that being said, we have some cool topics lined up here. None the less cool is the idea of collaborating, with other producers in 2016. It's really different now.
Yeah.
Like you can collab with people all over the world, and you have been able to for a long time, but it's never been easier.
No,
it's never been easier to collaborate with people now. It's a completely different, like the cloud just kind of snuck up on everybody,
Yeah, and especially with like the creation of sites like Splice, and I know there's I want to say it's called Lander, maybe. I didn't.
I think that's the mastering, that.
You might be right.
Mastering website, yeah.
Yeah, but there's another one out there that kind of like Splice, where you can upload a session right into there, and like just kind of open source collaboration. Like Splice is really kind of, it's not taken off, but it's definitely gotten bigger over the past probably year or so. I had been signed up for Splice for a couple of years without it really doing anything, and then all of a sudden like they hit their sample subscription, and then they added the file sharing stuff with Ableton and Logic, and I want to say they have FL in there too now. So
yeah, I think they've had FL since I've been on. So
yeah, but like never been easier. Never been an easier time to collaborate with anyone anywhere in the world. And it's
the big thing. The big thing with Splice is their lack of support between DAWs. Like they only support Logic X, they only support FL, version whatever, and they only support Ableton. So if you use Pro Tools or a lesser or earlier version of Logic, you're kind of assed out.
Yeah, without a doubt. One thing I've noticed is that a lot of our artists, EDM artists specifically, like Nightmare has put stuff on there. Getter just put up a sound pack. These are, pretty big EDM artists. A lot of what they're doing now to kind of circumvent that problem as far as the versions of software is a lot of them are just putting up stems now. They're putting up stems so people can go in there and kind of grab them, which... there's pluses and minuses to that. It definitely gives you the ability to go in and grab a stem and remix. It's something kind of like, Illmind and like the Drum Broker has been doing for a long time. They'll put out their sample packs and then throw out, a stem pack for you so that you have all of the stems for, your sample.
A certain project.
The certain project that they're working on. So, that's definitely, kind of a dope idea to get into. But yeah, there is still some limitations with it. If I upload, we've had this problem before, like if I throw a session in Splice for you, even though we're on Logic Pro X, if you're using a plugin that I don't have, I'm assed out.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, that kind of just comes down to me being lazy too and not bouncing out my stems. I could just bounce them out. It's really not that hard to do. But at the end of the day, still, like there's little things that, you kind of want to, that you would kind of want out of that program, but it has so much promise, especially if you have a friend that uses the same DAW that you use and it falls in the scope of what Splice can handle. It's the easiest way to share files between two people on the internet, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, like the old school way of WeTransfer and like all those big Dropbox. Yeah. Like there's something to be said about that too. That's it's still viable at this point, but still,
It's way
It's way
easier.
easier.
It's way easier than packing up a hard drive or putting it on DVDs or whatever and having to mail it back and forth, like it used to be.
Yeah.
You're not having to send it snail mail or anything like that. It's definitely a much easier situation now to collab and get projects between two people and get to working. Way less technological limitations at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, I think one of the coolest things that's happened since this whole like kind of new space, collaboration space has opened up is the presence of in browser DAWs or in browser MIDI editors like Audio Tool, and one that I kind of started messing with a little while ago, Ohm Studio. Those are both really, really awesome like websites. They're honestly websites because well, except Ohm Studio is a little different. You do have to download a client to actually run it,
right?
But it's basically ran like it's in the browser, and especially with Audio Tool. Audio Tool is completely in the browser. You can run it straight from Chrome, and it's a full MIDI editor.
Oh, wow.
I think it's a DAW too. Like you can import audio too, so you can definitely just make a whole track in Audio Tool, and it's pretty legit. It's intuitive. They have cool, synthesizers and drum machines. They have like drum machine clones, like an 808 clone, and it's a pretty neat sort of deal to think that you don't even really have to have Logic, Pro Tools, or any of the bigger DAWs, or even like GarageBand or anything like that.
Studio, nothing.
Yeah, you could just have a computer.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty fascinating. I've just started looking into these myself, and seeing it where it's all within a browser is, like it kind of makes me wonder about latency and stuff like that. Does that become an issue?
No, not that I've really noticed. I haven't really had a bunch of stuff going on, but I've had some pretty big projects in Audio Tool,
right?
And it's held up really well. It seems like you can't use third-party plugins, which is definitely a drawback.
Yeah.
But you can use third-party samples, and you can, like I said, you can import your own samples, and they have like a client created or like a user created sound, user created sound library that you can use in your projects. So you always have like a ton of stuff that you could choose from, and in conjunction with, the filters and effects and synths that they actually supply you with, you can actually get a lot of work done that sounds pretty legit, especially if like a little bit about synthesis and a little bit about signal flow. You can really have like a jamming session.
Right.
The only thing is it's another DAW that you have to learn.
Yeah.
Even though it is intuitive, there is there is a learning curve. So
for sure. Looking at it, it kind of reminds me of like a web-based Reason or something almost. Because like they got their own stuff in there, but yet it's their own stuff is kind of emulating the other stuff, as far as synthesis and like drum machines and stuff that are in there.
And I'll tell you, man, like they sound legit. Like they don't sound like you paid for them or anything like that. But if you're at all curious about making music and you don't have a DAW or you don't have Reason or nothing like that, that is a great starting point because it'll teach you everything you need to know.
That's pretty amazing. Because it definitely has everything that the normal DAWs would have, as far as like effects and instruments, routing and different things like that. That's pretty amazing for a web-based application.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah, and it's grown throughout the years too. I found out about Audio Tool, man, years and years and years and years ago. And before like I had a lot of audio equipment, I would just make beats on Audio Tool, and it kind of like kept me from getting rusty.
Yeah.
Like in between, like when I didn't have my equipment and when I got it, it really allowed me to still grow. So
That's always an
Shout out
interesting.
to Auto Tool.
That's always an interesting thing. Like, I don't know how much you do it, like how much you go back and forth between like DAWs for creating, but I find myself going back and forth between Machine and Logic Pro X quite a bit. Like, I'll definitely hit streaks where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm on fire in Machine. Let me just create in Machine until this burns out, and then I'll bounce back over to Logic Pro X. Like, I think there's definitely something to be said for learning different DAWs, and putting yourself in different situations to kind of stretch your comfort levels and find new ways to create. And I think it kind of kills boredom in it too, because just creating in the same thing, like, not to say that there's not pluses to having templates and being able to jump into something and go right away, but there's definitely a benefit in knowing multiple DAWs and being able to go, okay, let me get into this, and the workflow's a little different in this, so I can do things this way and get a different result than what I had been getting.
Yeah, man. Once you really learn your first DAW, though, everything else kind of falls in line.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think, like, I do work in different DAWs, but I use them more for functionality now.
Yeah.
I'm all about speed. Like, I don't have a lot of time to be sitting and dicking around with this DAW that I like halfway know.
Yeah.
If I know that I can do something better in something else that I have, I'm probably going to use that, unless I have, like, there's a rare occasion where I have like a bunch of spare time to kind of really dig in.
Yeah.
Or I'm researching about like another DAW like Ableton, and I'll pull that up every once in a while just to find out a little bit more. But at the end of the day, I'm sticking with my meat and potatoes, MPC, Logic, and that's pretty much it. Like, I'm not fucking
go with what works.
100%, man. Yeah. Like, and I was talking about Audio Tool. Ohm Studio is the other one that you can actually use to create. That's a little bit different. That one's like an actual, like, you download a DAW and then you can work with another collaborator in real time in that DAW. It's pretty cool. Yeah. The way it works is like you bounce out each of your parts that you would make or whatever.
Right.
And he can see the bounced out version of whatever you played in MIDI. And then once you add it to the project, he can add, or she, whatever, they can add their own, new part, and then you build that way.
Gotcha.
So, and it's pretty cool. Like I said, it's another DAW. It reminds me a lot of Audio Tool in the way that it's set up.
Yeah.
But it seems a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit more polished, because it is like a third-party client. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Music Tech Magazine was all over it. They got all sorts of awards from Music Tech Magazine, which is kind of saying a lot, because, I mean,
oh yeah,
they're kind of a big publisher and big contributor to the audio world as far as publications go, and stuff. They usually put their stamp of approval on. It usually, to get a 9 out of 10 like they have that for Ohm Studio, it's got to be pretty legit. How long do you
100%.
think it is before, like, we're able to just create real time collaboratively, over the web? Like, how long do you think?
Not long. I mean, you already can. It's not super polished right now with Ohm Studio, but you already can, and especially with virtual reality kind of taking off right now.
Yeah,
the whole space is going to change again. It's just about, like, it doesn't even really matter. Like, honestly, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you still have to make good music.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what my focus has been on, is just like making sure the music is good and trying to find my routine that's going to allow me to improve the quickest, and, not to just like kind of drag on about, myself or get preachy, but at the end of the day, at the end of the day, just make sure the music's good, and all this other shit is, it'll find its own path.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you'll definitely get comfortable in your DAW or whatever, and like it just stick to the music. That's definitely a good motto to follow.
Yeah.
Like, as far as writing good music, I finally did pick up this Taxi music book, the 126 proven techniques, like the shortcuts to the hit songwriting. pretty fascinating book. Like, I mean, pretty interesting,
Really?
pretty in-depth stuff, and like a lot of good other resources within the book, because it's from Taxi. So like they're telling you ways, resources to go online and where to find, chord books and stuff like that if you need that. Where to go on and just listen and do different things. Yeah, and not really like a cover to cover read. Like you're not going to pick it up and just read it cover to cover, but like the table of contents is laid out real well, and everything is real, clear.
So it's a reference book.
Yeah, for sure. You pick it up and you earmark a page and you read the information that you need. It is definitely a little bit more structured towards like actual songwriting. So, singer songwriter type material, but there's still good information in there about song structure, which I think is important because like the first things that I read in there was talking about like contrast.
Definitely tension and release.
Yeah, right. So like, the reference that they made was like if you're in a room and you're, with people and everybody's kind of talking, like you and I are talking right now at the same volume, and somebody starts just yelling out of the blue, like that's going to catch everybody's attention. And that's one thing you have to do with your music is it can't just be this monotone conversation the whole way through. Like there has to be contrast. There has to be parts that catch other people's attention and gets them to perk up. But then again, you're not going to have them perk up and then just ride that out for as long as possible. You're going to go back to, a lower volume or a different rhyme pattern or different things of that nature. So yeah, like that was the contrast section in the book was really fascinating. I would definitely recommend it for anybody that's like a novice to intermediate, and there's even some pretty advanced tips in there. So it's definitely not a music theory book. So if you're not up on your music theory game, it's not good. But as far as like putting together songs, it's definitely a good look.
Yeah, man. I've been really digging in on a lot of tutorials on YouTube and whatnot like that, and it's I've been reading a lot of opinions about a lot of different things, and
Everybody has an opinion.
Dude, that's the thing. There's so much free content out there.
Yeah,
like you can get lost in that shit, and and I think that's kind of like the purpose of why I wanted to start doing, or why I think that this is a good idea as far as this podcast goes.
Yeah, because
we both have spent a lot of time doing that shit, probably more time than we should have.
Right.
And in all honesty, but if I could have had like an aggregated place where, I can get all of the information that someone else found useful.
Yeah.
It would be, and I know there's Reddit boards and all that stuff with, great music production, YouTube videos, but they're not talking about it. You're getting someone's opinion on Reddit that is typing something up and, maybe, who knows, like 300 words. Like we're having long form conversations about it. And, at the end of the day, making music, like actually going and sitting behind the keys and pushing the keys and trying to find your own way in some cases, or like copying, like we were talking about earlier, remixing songs.
Yeah.
It's probably the best way to learn anyway.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like there's definitely something, you can read books and you can watch YouTube videos, but at the end of the day, like you got to just put your fingers on the keys and play, or put your mouse in FL Studio or Logic or whatever and lay the notes out. However you need to get it done. Like there comes a point where like you almost just take in too much information. And I mean, I've been guilty of it before, like just taking in information. I'm just like, give me all of this information. Let me read this book. Let me watch this YouTube video without any actual output. So like you're just bringing in information and not outputting it anyway. And like, that's almost more destructive than like just getting on the keys and failing at something, I think.
Yeah, definitely the lessons and the failures for sure. There's a something to be said about actually just sitting behind and doing things, or doing your thing every day. But But yeah, I mean, the whole collaboration thing, just to get back to that for a little bit, is it's just going to consistently change. The more and especially the more people have access to, the broadband spectrum, as that starts improving, it's only going to get better. It's great. It's awesome.
Agreed.
But I still find it kind of hard to collaborate.
I do too. Yeah.
And that's crazy, right?
Yeah. It's a tough thing because I don't know. I think the thing I struggle with the most is like putting a personal stamp on a collaboration. Because when I get something, that somebody wants me to collaborate on, like I'm trying to find ways to, kind of accent what they've done, kind of, play along within their boundaries. And I think there's something good to be said for that. That's sometimes what you need to do. But I think there's also, the good collaborations are the ones where you're getting both people's artistic creativity and you're creating this mesh point of both of them rather than one person kind of folding to the other side to match what the other person is doing.
Yeah, and that's the trick too, when especially if you're not in the same room with the other person. I feel like the more that you do it too with one person, like with a certain person, the more you'll kind of catch each other's vibe a little easier.
For sure.
But that's starting up, it's the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing is just starting it and being consistent enough to where you guys can even get to that level.
Yeah, I think because a lot of times people go into something and, artistically they try to understand stuff a little bit differently. They translate it differently. Mm-hmm. So somebody, you may lay down a key part and I hear drums behind it and I go in to lay down drums, but it's not, even what you were remotely thinking with the drums. So that's the struggle is you got to kind of have that push and pull situation where, let the person kind of have free reign. And that's tough sometimes, especially if you're putting, your effort into something artistic. It can be tough to kind of loosen up those reins sometimes and let that other person have some artistic creativity and freedom to move around.
Yeah, and knowing when it doesn't work too.
Yes.
That's when that's also a difficult thing to try and figure out, because you don't want to come off as disrespectful or flaky or anything like that. But sometimes you have to just know that it's not, it's just not going to work out for whatever reason. You have your schedules are crazy, or you have just differences artistically or whatever the case may be. It's important to kind of not stress yourself out over it too much. I've definitely run into that, stressing out over collabs. I don't really feel this, but what the fuck? I already said that I work with this dude. But should I just give him some bullshit? I don't want to do that.
Knowing when to walk away is a tough thing too, because you got to know, all right, artistically this is not working for me or whatever, I'm not feeling this. And I think that's a tough part, because for me, as far as being an artistic person, I can definitely take feedback, and I can take negative feedback, I can take positive feedback. There's something to be said for working with someone that's outside of even your inner circle. If you got people that you collaborate with all the time, sometimes finding that person that you don't collaborate with that might just tell you, hey, your shit's whack. I'm not feeling what you're doing.
I know.
There's definitely a benefit to that, because I think, obviously them being maybe a little bit nicer than just telling you your shit's whack, but there's definitely a benefit to that. Because what it does for me personally, when somebody tells me, that's cool, but I can tell they're not feeling it. It gives me that mindset of, okay, well, so how can I make this work?
What are you gonna feel, right?
What's it gonna be? Because everybody translate music a little bit differently. Everybody's tastes are so different, and the variety of music now is so broad. It's crazy, trying to find that happy place where you're gonna please a certain set of ears. It can be a tough thing.
Bro, I've meant to ask you, what are you working on right now? Are you working on anything?
Man, right now I'm taking the Noisia School of Music Creation. I told you, Yeah, I think I mentioned it before in a video. Hopefully it wasn't one of the ones that got deleted, but like I watched this video about Noisia, who is it's a drum and bass trio, three guys, and their process that they use to create music, because they do a shitload of sound design, which is pretty common in drum and bass music, is they go in and they have sessions where they're just doing sound design and they're just laying down like motifs and melody lines and basses and stuff like that, just to get like a surplus almost of ideas. So pretty much for the past 3 weeks or so, I've pretty much just been writing like short grooves in Machine. I'll just grab a handful of sounds or an instrument or a sample or something like that, and just see how many kind of grooves I can create out of it. And some of them come out whack, some of them come out dope, but I'm not pushing it any farther than just like a 4 or an 8 bar or even a 16 bar groove at this point. I'm kind of just letting it be at what it is and then moving on. Like I'm not spending any more than like 30 minutes or so working on one particular thing at this point.
That's super interesting. I'm kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's
interesting you said that.
Yeah, it's kind of a dope way to do things, because you have to really challenge yourself. You can't let yourself get locked into one particular method, doing it that way. Yeah,
I mean, and I've it's kind of like I've been hearing that this whole time I've been trying to kind of break in. Yeah, set limits and set a time limit and just finish it. Like that's kind of been like the 3 main themes that I've been hearing this whole time.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of making loops and stuff like that. I've been kind of trying to push myself a little further though, and I've been doing like whole songs. Like even if the structure's kind of boring, like finishing the whole thing out to where it makes sense, and then bouncing it down and listening back and seeing like where I can make improvements.
Right.
I feel like I could tell from day one till now, like how much better my structure game has gotten, and how like I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but for myself, there's like always kind of like a little bit of fear that goes into extending a loop out.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know the direction of your song.
Yeah. And you sometimes have no idea.
Yeah. And it's like, and that's what gets you stuck in the graveyards, well, at least me, I have a 1,000 4-bar loops because I just didn't know where I wanted to take it. Because I cared a lot. Like I wanted it to sound good, but I've just kind of gotten over that. And, another thing that I've been trying to figure out is like how to get better faster. And it was funny, like I was thinking about that today, and I got an email from this, like I entered some contest and I had to sign up for their email thing.
Yeah.
And it was from that email, I think what's his name? Sam Matala? Sam something. He from E Producer Magazine.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, he sent an email talking about like that exact thing.
Right.
And the Malcolm Gladwell deliberate practice sort of idea that you should practice with the intent on getting like verifiable results, like you can compare them to something to actually get better. And he suggested like just doing remakes, and that will actually get you better quicker than if you just like randomly make beats, and I've been definitely embracing that.
I could definitely see that, because it takes a huge chunk of the having to create something from nothing step out of it, like as far as doing remakes. If you're copying like a melody line or a chord structure or something like that, that's one thing that you're not having to come up with then at that point to create a song. So yeah, like I could definitely see the benefit in that.
Yeah. And I mean, like, man, I'll just go ahead and put myself out there a little bit and make this declaration right here on the podcast. I'm going to use that method for the next, what's today? Today's the 20th.
Yeah.
Let's say for the next 30 days, I'll post my first beat. Let's say starting today, I'll post my first creation that I'm having using this whole remake method.
Yeah.
And then I'll post the last one at the end of the 30 days, and we can see.
Yeah.
We can see exactly how, and it's just 30 days, so we'll see exactly how quick or how not quick it works. But
right.
I think it's worth investigating.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like, there's definitely, I go through phases where I went through a phase of probably like 60 days or so where I did nothing, but if I sat down at the computer, I was finishing a song that night. Like, I didn't care.
Right.
Whether the structure sucked all the way through, or, like there was gaps in it or whatever, like I was getting to the end. I was writing either, a 2.5, 3 minute, 4 minute. Some of them got a little lengthy and got up there in like that 5 minute range, but
yeah,
I was sitting down to finish a song, and I think that's a very beneficial process as well. Like, because getting in that groove and getting in that zone of, okay, this is what I'm doing, even if you don't necessarily, I don't want to use the term finish. I want to more use the term like polish, because I think there's a big difference between a track being finished and a track being polished, because like you can finish a track structure wise and melody and everything like that wise, and go back in and bounce it out, listen to it, and get ideas to actually polish it, because I think that polishing is kind of that icing on the cake, to get that above and beyond to your music.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of like, I just started this maybe on Sunday, so it wasn't like, it's not like I have a big sample size, but like over the past 3 days, I've probably finished close to I have like 8 beats now.
Yeah.
So, and at the end of the week, I'm planning on actually going through those and picking my favorites and polishing those, so, we'll see, man. Like this whole creative process, it's all just a big, experiment.
Oh yeah.
It feels like, with yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, you got to find what's going to work. My biggest struggle was all those tracks that I finished. Like, I never went back and polished them. So I'm like sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, man, maybe it's time to go back. But yeah, it's definitely I hit ebbs and flows with like my creativity. So like I think that's a big thing, is just finding ways to stay creative. I know we've touched on that before.
Oh yeah.
And like that's why I watched this video and I was like, oh, maybe, let me just go in and start creating my own sample library at this point. That way, when I'm ready to actually write something out, I can just go in and pull something of my own and go from there. Yeah,
there's definitely a reason why, there's such a big industry for breaking creative block and all that stuff, getting rid of creative block. It's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. So,
yeah,
I'm just glad that we can provide like a platform for people to, at least hear what we're going through, even, be that what it's worth, you can at least get some idea of where to start. If you are going through it, you
can use all my extra hours that I spent on YouTube when I should have been writing music. I'll provide this information for you guys free of charge, free of your time, except for you listen to the podcast. And
this is a free podcast. You guys.
That's right. Free knowledge.
Right. Definitely.
No ads or nothing yet at this point. Well,
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about ads, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely just, all we ask in return is for you to tell somebody,
tell somebody.
We have 2 versions of the podcast. You have no reason not to listen.
That's right.
Yeah. You can fucking listen to us on your commute. If you, have a short commute like a lot of us, or if you have a commute like Dustin, you can listen to the long version. We have a spoiler and a extended version of the podcast. So, there's something for everyone in here. I don't know. How do you feel about this, man? Do you want to keep it short tonight?
Yeah.
I don't even know how long we've been going.
It's been like 40 minutes. We've been chopping it up for about 40 minutes. That's good. I think we're. Yeah, I think. I think we touched on everything tonight, and we need to get some feedback, from our listeners. Let
100%, yeah.
Let us know what you're struggling with, and maybe we can come up with a way to help you, because I think that's the biggest goal of the podcast right now is to help the community, and build a community.
Yeah, definitely
building that community is the first step before we can help you. You have to be here. You have to be present for us to help us.
You have to be here.
Yep.
That is 100% true. Yes, we want your feedback. You're not going to hurt our feelings. If you think it's boring, if you think there's some improvements that we can make, I would love to know, because I'm not here to just ramble on and on about my own life or career or whatever. I'm here to actually provide solutions, which we're trying to do, which we will do, which you guys are going to benefit from. So
if you hate my voice, just let me know too. It's cool. I hate hearing I hate your voice, Dustin. I hate hearing my own voice, man. I have a hard time even listening back to our podcast because I'm like, God, I got to listen to myself. This is fucking ridiculous.
Man, you have no idea. It is so hard to make those spoiler episodes every week. I'm just cringing through the whole thing. I wish that I didn't have to listen to this shit.
Yeah, those things are a blessing for me though, because I listen to the spoiler cast. I'm a big fan of the spoiler cast.
That's awesome. I'm glad someone likes them.
Yeah, big fan.
I see they get the most plays. I'm like, all right, I'll keep doing this shit then, I guess.
That's right. 10 minutes of joy right there for a quickie.
Just get all the highlights. If you need to fill in the gaps, you can skip around on the first one or listen to the whole. I prefer if you listen to the whole thing, honestly.
Yeah.
My ego would feel better. But if you don't, it's fine. That's why I'm doing it. That's why the spoiler cast exists. So
that's right.
I think we're going to sign out here. My name is Rashad Peters. You can find me on Instagram at @DS_WyattEarp. You can find the audio files on Facebook at theaudiofiles.com.
Yeah.
And you could find my co-host, Dustin Brookshire, at Dustin Brookshire on Facebook. You know what to do. Hit the like button on Facebook. Let us know what you think. Like us on SoundCloud, the Audiofiles Podcast. Now available on iTunes and Stitcher, too.
Yeah.
You have no excuse. Yeah.
No.
Subscribe.
Yeah.
Subscribe. Follow. Subscribe. Again.
Yeah.
Subscribe. Yes. Cool. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Peace.